Hello and welcome to tutorial 4 for GDTK stats. In this tutorial, we're going to be looking at damage types and modifiers. As always, we have copied out our previously completed tutorial into a new scene. I've also updated some of the particle effects, but we'll take a look at that in a moment. First, let's go ahead and create our data. So we're going to click the stats database and then select our object. And we're going to go into damage types, and we're going to create 4 different damage types that we're going to assign colors to because we're going to have our damage UI use their colors. So we're going to have cold and fire with a nice sort of a red to it, and we're going to have a poison with a bit of a green. And finally, slashing damage, which we'll put as a sort of a dark gray. There we go. Okay, so now we have our damage types. Let's create some damage modifiers. We'll start off with cold resistance. And we're going to select cold for the damage type ID. And damage equals, what this is the damage we have right here in curly brackets is the total calculated damage that stats has come up with for us. And we're going to change that. We are going to divide it by 2. So half of the damage is going to go away because we're going to be resistant to it. And we're going to go ahead and duplicate that a few times so that we can quickly create the other modifiers. So we'll do cold, and now it's fire. And then poison, and slashing. And notice how easy this is because we have this auto-gen ID. Just changing the title gets our new ID for us, makes it really quick. So next we're going to do vulnerability. So cold, vulnerability. Yep, sure did take me a second to figure out how to spell that. We're going to multiply the damage by 2 and apply it to cold. And then we're going to do the same thing where we duplicate that entry a few times so that we can apply it to fire. And then poison. And then slashing. Okay, and finally we're going to make some immunities. And what we're going to do on this one is instead of doing some sort of multiplication on this, we're just going to replace it with a flat out 0. So if cold damage comes in and we have this damage modifier on us, we're not going to care. We're not going to take any of it. So we're going to duplicate that out so that we can do fire and poison and slash. Now we need to hit save to apply all this, so we're going to do that now. And then we're going to go back to our scene and add these damage modifier, or these damage types. So if we look at sphere, we can see that this is going to be our cold sphere. So we're just going to change its damage type from nothing to cold. The cube is going to continue to be red, so that's going to be a fire. And then the cone is going to be a nice green poison. And of course our little buzzsaws here are going to be slashing damage. And we'll want to go into our player and modify both of these guys to use type color. Brilliant. Okay. Now you'll notice there's nowhere on here for damage modifiers. This is going to be the first time that we're going to need to upgrade to a more comprehensive version of stats. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to export this. And this just goes out to some JSON. We're going to save it at the root because we're going to delete it afterwards. And then we'll go ahead and we will remove this component and add in a stats and effects is going to be the next high up one that we're going to look at. And our stat source is missing now from damage receiver, so we'll drag this guy in, and we're going to import that JSON that we've just exported, and now you'll see all of our stats are there. You'll also see that now we have damage modifiers available to us. So let's give ourselves resistance to cold, so we'll take half damage from cold. Let's give us fire vulnerability, so we'll take double damage there. And poison, let's actually go with poison immunity, so we'll take no damage from that. Regular damage from slashing, half from cold, double from fire. Okay, let's have a look and see what we've got. So we took a crit right there. You can see the same color. We'll go into the fire damage. We can see that's going up pretty fast. Cold damage is going up much slower. And then poison is nothing. We are just flat out immune to it. We also, one thing to note, you'll see that these aren't updating. And the reason for that is we need to register this now, that it is a new one. So we'll set that over to be player. We'll hit save. Now we've got our icons and we can see it applying in every place. All right, that is it for tutorial number 4. Join us in our next one where we'll look at stat modifiers and effects. Until then, thank you for joining. Have a good one.